Oh, I'm proud of you, son. Thanks, Dad.
Luke, you did not follow in my footsteps. That makes you a better man than I.
Father. Father.
Seriously? You, Kylo.
Whatever, Dad.
Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Tonight I'm going to take a look at Hasbro's Star Wars The Black Series Wave 5. And that includes Finn in Stormtrooper gear, Flame Trooper, Old Man Han Solo, and Jango Fett, who isn't a part of The Force Awakens, so it's kind of cool to get back into older characters. Even though he's a prequel character, I'm still happy to get, you know, an older character. Older as in not the brand new movie. The Flame Trooper, I'm happy to get that. Add to the ranks. I've actually picked up an extra, so I can have my duo. Finn in the Stormtrooper gear, not as exciting, but I'm always down again for another trooper. I've only seen these in the package, but Finn's head does look a little bit better than the first release. Old Man Han, it's good to get him. There are older versions that I would have preferred over this, but with the current, you know, the Force Awakens craze going on, I'm happy to get this one out of the way. And then, of course, Jango Fett. Again, like the troopers, it's some armor. His face looks a little bit rough, I guess you could say. Rough is the right word for it. But knowing me, I'll probably leave his helmet on the majority of the time. So I'm going to get these out of the package, and we'll see what's going on here. And here they are out of the package. You know what? I really wanted this wave, mostly for Jango, another trooper, couple troopers actually, and then, you know, I'm good with old Han. Plus, it's been a few waves since we've had more than 2 new characters in the assortment. I think the last wave was Asti and Hux, and then the wave before that was the Resistance Trooper and the TIE Fighter pilot. But this one, this is a return to a full wave. I'm going to start with Han, main character. I might as well go with him. Now, as you can see, the pants are a little bit weird, and the head seems a little bit small, but overall it looks like Han from The Force Awakens. There's no denying that. I feel like the hair could be a little more gray, and the face sculpt, it is good. He's got a little smirk going on, but the paints, that's what it comes down to with Hasbro. The paints usually suffer. It actually brings the product down a bit. Now, they're pretty good at washing, but actual detail painting, faces mostly, I guess it is, and it just hides what we've seen from customizers repainting these on Facebook. The sculpts are there. It's just the paint, just the straight eyebrows. No, not a lot of, you know, life to them. The eyes, almost G.I. Joe-like, and then no shading or anything. Not even the lips are painted. So I may do a repaint in the future when I get time for customizing again. But for now, he's going to placehold on the shelf. He's going to go in the Force Awakens display. Another big thing here, talking about the paint. In promo shots, or the first shots we saw from Hong Kong, it looked like the boots were painted up to the kneecap. And on mine, it's about the same. Now, there is a sheen to the boots, makes them look more leather-like, but there is some brown just splotched up on the rest of the leg. And yes, the pants do make it look kind of like a diaper. But you know what? Han's getting up there in age. It's just nature. That's just how it goes when you get old. The back, the belt sculpt, he's got old man butt, really. I mean, it just kind of slopes down. Since it's an all-new sculpt, I'm going to go through the articulation real quick. The head is on the hinge with a ball joint at the top, so down's pretty good. You can put his chin in his own shirt. Up, not so much. The collar and the hair kind of slam into each other, so he's not going to be looking up. And then it's side to side. Hinge and swivel at the shoulder. It's up. It's all the way around. Hinge and swivel at the elbow. And he comes up past 90, so that's pretty cool. I like that for gun-toting characters. It's not as good as a double elbow, but what can you do? Hinge and swivel at the wrist. He does have side-to-side wrist on both sides. And then it swivels. The abs, there is a little bit of up and down. It feels kind of like Poe in the ab department. He does have some movement, and it does go around, but it's mostly a swivel. Hinge and swivel in the hips. He comes up, and back, out. Now, the holster is glued to the leg down here, so it does hinder a little bit it's not going to be able to go forward as much, back as much. Out's okay. The belt kind of lifts up. There's a swivel at the thigh, double knees, comes back. Hinge at the ankle. It goes back really, really well. And then forward better than most we've seen lately. And then forward facing pin for rocker. For accessories, Han does come with his blaster. Goes in the holster really well. Comes out. And I do like this sculpt, but one thing about it, I'm not sure if the sight is a separate piece that's... On mine, it feels like it's kind of loose. When I move it, it's not bending where you would think it would bend. It's the whole assembly down there. And it goes in his hand. It does seem a little bit small, but it looks good. Size-wise, here he is with Chewbacca. And this is a good size. I mean, Chewbacca's a big dude. Han's getting up there in age. This is the Chewbacca with the Force Awakens head, the old body, old bowcaster. I wanted a classic Chewbacca with a closed mouth. And just for giggles, here he is with the Figure Arts Kylo Ren with the Black Series robe on it. And then there's the Flame Trooper. I'm going to jump to this one because there's some slight disappointment here. I want to end the review on a high note, so he's next in line. The sculpt, overall, it's a new sculpt. I'm good with that. Another trooper for the shelf. His arms do seem a little bit short. I don't know if that's a proportion thing or if that's how the armor actually sits, but most of the time he's going to be holding his flame gun, so the arms being short doesn't really bother me. Before I get into the most disappointing part, the actual articulation, this looks like it was drawn in on pencil, and it follows a groove around, but it just kind of misses here. As you can see, it's pretty close together, and then it spreads apart a little bit, comes around. That right there, not enough to make me hate the figure. It's in the back. Now, I did see a couple of these at Walmart, and this black stripe above the eye slit, some of those were a little bit crooked, kind of rough. I picked the best one. But where this gets me is the articulation. He's got a hinged neck with a ball joint at the top, and it works pretty good. Side to side, swivel, forward, back. The arms, the shoulder pad does go up into the body a little bit. It gets about right there. Hinge and swivel, and that swivels around. The elbows. I don't know what the deal is lately with the elbows on troopers, but you cannot get past here. Now, this would be okay if he had a smaller gun, but he has a fairly large rifle, and getting it into a two-handed pose, kind of a pain in the ass. The wrists, kind of the same way. He's got up and down on the right side for holding the gun, but it doesn't get a lot of movement, and then it swivels around. The next disappointing articulation point is the torso. It swivels, but there's not really anything there. It just swivels. Hinge and swivel at the hips, out about that far, forward, which is not bad for armor. Back, there's a swivel at the thigh, and it works really well because the armor pieces come up and just completely hide it. Double hinge knees, but it gets about right there. Again, not terrible, but not as good as it could be. And on the knees, you have this plate coming down covering the knees too, so I do like that. I like the design of this more than the actual execution. Hinge at the ankle, gets back, gets forward, and then forward-facing peg for rocker. Now, he does come with an accessory. He's got his tanks that go on his back for his flame rifle. And it's painted pretty nice. It's got some red dots here, some silver, the white, the color-coordinated first order. In the package, this hose comes separate. It's got a peg on the gun, but this plugs in nicely. It just stays right there. And on his back, he has a peg and a hole, so there's no turning this upside down. It pretty much tells you which way to go. It's really tight grip, but the handle on the gun is fairly large, so getting it into his hand, you gotta kind of stretch out the hand and stuff it in there real quick before it closes up. Again, left hand, you have to open it up really far to get the grip on. Get it on there before it squeezes shut. And every time it pulls it out of this hand. Now, with the backpack, he is a little bit back heavy, so you got to kind of lean him forward a little bit. Once you get everything into place, it doesn't look that bad. He'll be on the shelf, not a bad addition. Just a little bit frustrating. And then we get to Finn, another main character, so I'm happy to get this version because this is the version that you meet in the film. If you have the First Order Stormtrooper, you pretty much know what's going on here. Articulation-wise, the elbows are a little bit hindered. Great movement in the torso, though. Finn comes with this removable helmet. Now, when I first heard that the helmet was going to be removable, I wasn't that excited. What we've seen in the past, it's either made the helmet look big or it makes the head look small. In my brain, it just didn't work. But I get the figure, and then I'm surprised to find that the helmet does slip on really nice, and it looks good. It's not out of proportion. It hides the head well. You can still use the movement of the head under there. It ended up working really great. But it doesn't end there. There was another alteration made, kind of like the Han Stormtrooper and the Luke Stormtrooper. The Luke was a little bit shortened down. The same thing happened here, and it's in the torso. They brought the upper torso down a little bit. I don't know how. I'm not going to tear them apart to find out, but yeah, they shortened them down a little bit. And comparing the two, I almost like the size and even the paint of the Finn Trooper head over the First Order Stormtrooper. If it wasn't for the red marks, I would probably get a few fins just to throw some variation into the Trooper shelf. But they couldn't quite shorten him down enough to match the proportions of the first series Finn. I thought that this may have been a different sculpt, but looking at him now, I almost feel like it's not. It's the same sculpt, but with the eyes painted a little bit different, a little cleaner paint all around. It's really hard to tell. For accessories, Finn comes with the blaster and the pistol, both standard First Order Stormtrooper weapons. And then to get to the figure that I was most excited about out of this wave, Jango Fett. This is a brand new sculpt all the way up and down. There is no reuse from Boba Fett, and that makes sense. They didn't wear the same armors. Same setup, kind of, but not the same armors. The whole figure, not just the armor pieces, has a wash to it, making them look kind of dirty, which adds to the overall just gunslinger vibe. I think that's why I like him the most out of this wave. There was a lot more effort put into this figure than I thought there would be, but I appreciate it completely. The jetpack does come off. It's got a pretty big peg, like it's not meant to. It has these tiny rectangle pegs that keep it from rotating. I do like that. And as you can see, the paints here, it's just great, nice and sharp. His holsters don't work as good as I feel like they could. I always feel like the trigger should go down past the bottom. They kind of stick up and out. And on top of that, he has a removable helmet too that works pretty good. Now, the head with the helmet on, it does look a little bit big. I get those complaints, but at the same time, I think the view that we have in our heads of Boba and Jango are that the heads with the helmets are proportionate to the body when they should be a little bit oversized. This is not huge. I mean, it's not like a bobblehead. I like it. It looks good. But the helmet does come off, and then you get Jango himself. Now, the paint here, yes, it's the eyebrows. And yes, I've seen the customizer out of Hong Kong that does the repaints on these faces that made this head look just like a little Hot Toys head. But as is out of the package, it's just cast in the skin tone with some black for the eyes, eyebrows, and hair. Now for articulation, he's got the standard hinge in his neck with the ball at the top. You don't get a lot of side to side here, but you do get the swivel, you do get the forward, and you do get the back. A hinge and swivel at the shoulder. It doesn't get, oh well, yeah it does, it popped. It gets up about that far, and then you can swivel around. Now the elbows are interesting. He has these pipes running off of his costume down to his gauntlets. He's got 3 hoses running on the right, and then he has 2 hoses running on the left. And what they did here, there is a hinge and swivel at the elbow, standard, for the Black Series. But they also put a swivel above the pipes, so when you turn, it turns the pipes themselves. So you're not going to get those stretched out, breaking, that kind of thing. But you bend the elbow and he doesn't get quite 90, which, like I said, for gunslingers, I wish they could come all the way up, even double elbows, but it wasn't meant to be here. You got the hinge and swivel at the wrist, hinge, swivel, swivel. The ab joint, it's not that great. He gets a little bit back, some forward, a little bit side to side, but again, it's mostly swivel. There's a lot of armor going on here, like with the Flame Trooper. The hips, hinge and swivel, but there is a lot of harness going on with these holsters. Even saying that, he can get out this far. He can get forward. Because it's like the original Han figure we got. These are loose. It's not glued to his hip like old Han. And then back, it starts stretching right there. Got a swivel at the thigh. And again, the plate armor right here covers the thigh swivel. I love it when that happens. Got a double knee. And it's really stiff. But he comes all the way back. Got a hinge at the ankle. Back really well. Forward. It's got 2 pieces of armor. It hits right there, so not a lot of forward. And then forward-facing peg for some rocker. Now for accessories, he comes with his 2 pistols. I've had them in the holster, but those are sculpted pretty good. Nice and sleek, like most of the prequel stuff. Those go in his hand really well. And here's Jango with Boba. I like this, and you can tell here the difference in the sizes of the helmets. You can tell which one's going to be the removable helmet. Looking at movie stills, the helmet's supposed to be a little bit larger than what Boba has, but maybe just slightly smaller than what Jango has. The Jango figure is a little bit thicker, but he has a little bit more armor too. So at the end of the day, I like the whole wave. I like some more than others, but that's just the nature of this whole beast we call action figure collecting. The Flame Trooper, it's okay. It looks good. It's just a little frustrating to get into poses with his big-ass rifle. Finn Trooper, I dig it. I like the First Order Stormtrooper. Every version I have, I like in different ways. Old Han definitely needed with the rest of my Force Awakens shelf, but he'll be standing there waiting for Leia to come along. Han doesn't finish off my Force Awakens collection yet. And then, of course, there's Jango. I'm the happiest with him out of these 4. It's just cowboy cool. He's the gunslinger. Yeah, if you get a chance, pick these up because it just adds to the collection. It mostly adds to the Force Awakens collection, but Jango is the start of getting some more older characters in. So if you like the review, comment, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the Fwoosh. This set is definitely worth tracking down. You're adding to your Star Wars shelf. There's nothing wrong with that. And with the way the marketing's been going, it's hard to care about characters when you know nothing about them. But cool-looking characters are cool-looking characters. Plus, you know it's Star Wars, so there is some attachment, or will be, at some point, hopefully. Surely I'll like Phasma. I mean, a cool-looking big stormtrooper walking around battlefields, explosions,